Stephen was always a nervous, anxious kid. Not anxious enough to warrant medication though, but anxious enough that he often avoided certain people in large groups. He wanted to fit in and get attention and date the pretty girls like his friends did, but he just got too nervous and hated the way he felt. Although he did get better in time, it never fully went away. He still had a pretty good life, but pretty good just wasn't good enough. Deep down, he yearned for so much more, and somehow he just knew that it was anxiety and fear that held him back. It was fear that stopped him from approaching women. It was fear that kept him from pursuing his ultimate goals, and it was fear that kept him from standing up for himself and confronting others. He knew that he had so much potential. He knew he could have the most amazing life if only he could rid himself of the anxiety, the fear. Stephen spent years searching for the solution until he discovered a subject that put everything into perspective: evolutionary psychology. It made sense. After all, humans have been evolving for a very, very long time. In order to truly understand the human mind, you need to step back and see the bigger picture. You see, the fear of being rejected was a very serious concern throughout most of our evolutionary history. In smaller communities, being rejected by one or more eligible mating partners could signify the end of your hopes of procreating and passing on your genes. Being rejected from your group or community could also mean the difference between life and death. Back then, humans didn't often survive long without the help of others. Cooperation was essential, and even if you did survive alone, your genes would die with you. Fitting in, being liked, finding a partner, and not outstepping your place in the hierarchy were all essential for survival. After all, these were dangerous times and survival was everything. However, the fears we now have, those that bring us stress and anxiety, were born in a different time. Most are no longer relevant. The lions that we still fear are no longer real, or they've been tamed a long time ago. And the alarms that are going off, the ones trying to keep us alive, are far too often warning us of dangers that no longer matter. We no longer have to fear rejection. We could be rejected by 1,000 women a day for the rest of our lives and still find someone who will want us. We no longer have to fear outstepping our place. We can reinvent ourselves and become whomever we want 1,000 times and 1,000 times again. We need to prove to our ancient lizard brains that these alarms are no longer necessary, no longer relevant. We need to update our firmware. We need to confront our fears over and over again until our subconscious mind finally realizes that there are no real consequences anymore. However, you can't outthink your fears, and you can't outreason your anxiety. You can read 1,000 books and watch 1,000 videos, and the fear will still be there. You need to act. You see, Stephen took it a step further. He didn't just wait for the perfect ideal moments to face his fears. He went out and created them. Now, this doesn't mean he got himself killed or arrested or fired from his job, but he did sit down and plan out ways that he could crush his fears, a brilliant and hilarious checklist. One day he walked through a busy mall in just his bathing suit. Another day he went to the park and asked out 50 different women. Yet another day he wore his Halloween costume to work in June and refused to explain why. Eventually, challenging his fears became fun, and he even got a few friends involved in making prank videos. Now, I'm not saying that Stephen never hears those alarms going off anymore when he finds himself in a difficult or uncomfortable situation, but they definitely don't seem as loud or come as often anymore, and they are certainly a lot easier to ignore. Thanks for sharing, Stephen.